Hey there, welcome to another segment of the new plans for 2022. This one is going to be on new trees that we'll be getting in the 2022 season. Again, as with all of the new plant series, just because it's in this slide does not necessarily mean that it's new on the market, though I do have quite a few of them that are new for us to purchase in this year. So with that said, let's get started. All right. To kick off the trees, I thought I would start with the maples just because they're probably the most popular deciduous tree that we sell in the nursery yard. This one is a new one called Regal Celebration. It's another type of the Freeman maple, which is a hybrid between the red maple and the silver maple, which are both native here in Wisconsin. Regal Celebration is one of a few that are seedless, so I'm sure it'll be very popular this year. We sometimes can get in another seedless variety called Flashfire. I do have that on order for later in the summer. I think it's July, possibly August, that we are able to finally get it in. So this one will be coming in spring, and then Flashfire, the other seedless variety, will be showing up later in the season, possibly even when these are probably sold out. Photo here depicts what it will look like in the fall. So in spring and summer, it'll have more of a green foliage. It gets a nice bright red fall color, very similar to like the Autumn Blaze, the Matador that we also sell, some of the first ones that came on the market, just a nice bright red fall color. A little bit different than the sugar maples that are more of an orange red, so this is more of that brighter red if that's what you're looking for. The mature size on this one is 45 to 50 feet tall. It's not going to be quite as wide. It's a 30 to 35 feet tall. You can see in the photo it does show kind of more of a narrow canopy. It's not going to be as open, not as lollipop shaped as a sugar maple will. And hardiness zone on this is zones 4 to 8, so definitely hardy here, at least in southern Wisconsin. And the real claim to fame for a lot of people with this one is that it's a very fast growing tree. The red maple is what gives it the red fall color, and the genetics from the silver maple is what makes it a very fast growing tree. So just something to keep in mind. This is a very popular hybrid maple just because seedless and also because it's a fast grower. This year I thought I would try some of the red maples, or one red maple actually. Red Point is the one that I can get in this year. Again, the foliage in this photo shows the fall color, not what it would look like all season long. Green green spring and summer foliage and red fall foliage color. And then of course they drop typically in mid to late October here in southern Wisconsin. Hardiness zone on this is 4 to 8. And this is what's known as a nativar, so it's a variety of a native here in Wisconsin. Red maple is a native in a lot of the forests here that we find in Wisconsin. Full sun to part sun is okay. They typically, when they're younger, they'll be in the understory of a lot of the forests, and then as they mature, they become the canopy of the forest basically. So we'll handle a minimum of 4 hours of sun, but it'll definitely tolerate more than that if you just want to put it in basically in your lawn, or if you have a spot away from the house. 40 to 45 feet tall is the mature height on it, and it's 20 to 30 feet wide. You can see it kind of has like that pyramid shape, the canopy. It's not really, again, not going to be as rounded as a sugar maple will be. To me, sugar maples look like lollipops, but I still love them anyway. The Red Point is also known for having a high degree of disease resistance, so you don't really have to do much spraying. You don't have to worry about a lot of insects. And then red maples are one of the maple varieties that are walnut tolerant. So if you do have black walnuts on your property, this can be planted near or even under the canopy of the black walnuts, and it will be perfectly fine. This one is one of the maples that I'm very excited about. I, generally speaking, love maple trees, but the three-flowered maple I came in contact with probably 20 years ago already. When I was fresh out of college, I worked at a garden center up near the Appleton area, and they had these in, not many of them just because they weren't really well known, but this is definitely an underused tree, and it's really gorgeous in the fall. I believe the Arboretum, the UW Arboretum, has one planted. Um, I saw it, I want to say 3 years ago in the fall, and it was a mixture of kind of a burgundy red, and what the bottom photo shows kind of like a burnt orange color. Depending on how much sun it gets, it's going to have a brighter color. If you have it in more of a part shade location, it will be more like that top photo where it's more of a yellow and orange hues. So just as a note, both of those photos show fall color. The spring and summer foliage colors will be green, so this is not like a Japanese maple where it has different foliage color than the green. So you will get green through most of the season until October, when it'll change to this orange or yellow color depending on the sunlight. Hardiness on this one is a zone 4, so it is hardier than the Japanese maples. Size on this is about the same as a Japanese maple, where it's 15 to 20 feet tall and about 20 feet wide. Not a really fast grower, but it's not as slow as some other trees that are on the market, so probably expect maybe 8 to 12 inches of growth depending on how happy it is. And then this one is more adaptable to our clay soils. So it definitely will grow in sandy or loamy soils, but it also will handle the clay soil that we have here in the Madison area. And a new Japanese maple that we'll be getting in this year is Twombly's Red Sentinel. It's a columnar variety, so you can see here in the photo it's going to be, eventually it'll reach 8 to 10 feet tall here in Wisconsin, 4 to 6 feet wide, probably on the lower side if you're north. We're basically on the northern end of its hardiness. It is hardy to zones 5 through 9, so if you do plant it on your property, Madison area is probably okay. If you're out in the country, like I am, maybe not okay. It really depends on if you can give it a protected spot. As a general rule of thumb, Japanese maples do best on the east sides of houses, especially if you can plant it closer. And this one, because it is columnar, you can more easily plant it closer to your house than some of the other ones, like Bloodgood gets eventually, 15 feet wide. So who can plant it that close to your house without it growing into the eaves? So this one, if you can plant it on the east side, or if you have a corner like that goes in and protects it from the winter winds, that's always a big problem with the Japanese maples making it through the winter here. The maroon purple the maroon purple foliage is the spring and summer foliage color, and then it turns more of a brighter red color in the fall. So you'll have basically this, what you see in the photo is what you'll see most of the season. So that's a great selling point for it, along with the columnar growing habit. A new sugar maple that I've decided to get in is the Flash Fire. This one will handle full sun to part sun. It's similar to the red maple in that out in the forest, it's in the understory, so it can definitely handle a partial sun kind of location if you have that. 4 hours of sun or more, basically a day, is perfectly fine. The photo here shows what it's going to look like in fall, so it'll have kind of a mix of red and orange for fall color. A lot of the native sugar maples have more of an orange hue to it, where this one is a little bit deeper, not quite as pumpkin orange. It does have more of the red hues in it as well. This one, 40 to 45 feet tall and about 40 feet wide, so again, it's more symmetrical, looks like a lollipop, like I've been saying, but I still love sugar maple trees. They're the Wisconsin state tree, so obviously they grow here. Hardiness zone on this one is a zone 4, so it grows 4 through 9, and this one is black walnut tolerant and also has very high disease resistance. So that is definitely an option. If you've had issues in the past with other sugar maples, this one might be a great option for you. A new Norway maple that we're getting in this year was actually recommended to me from one of my green industry friends. He recommended Princeton Gold just because you can kind of see from this photo here the spring and summer foliage color is more of a lime green, almost a yellow color, versus just the straight green that a lot of other Norway maples have. And then in the fall, it turns more of a golden yellow, so it's a deeper yellow instead of this limey yellow color. Because of the foliage color, though, you are going to need to keep it in full sun. It won't have quite a strong coloration if you do put it in more of a parched shade, or even full shade. The other nice thing about Norway maples is they are tolerant of black walnuts. I have too many black walnuts on my property, but I do have two different types of Norway maples that are growing, and they're both perfectly fine. So they actually don't like the clay soil more than they don't like the walnuts. So again, walnut tolerant if you do have walnuts on your property. And Norway maples, they are tolerant of all soil types. I've noticed with my nasty clay and sandstone that I have at my house for gardens, they don't grow as fast as I've seen them, you know, up in Fremont area in Wisconsin where it's more sandy. Stevens Point area, it's sandier. They do put on more growth, but again, they'll tolerate the clay soils around here. The mature size on this one will be 30 to 40 feet tall, 20 to 25 feet wide. It does have more of that lollipop shape like the sugar maples tend to have. So if that's more of your preference versus the pyramidal shape like the hybrid Freeman maples or the red maples that have more of that kind of pyramid canopy on there, this would be a good option if you like the lollipop look. I really need to stop calling it that, but it's a good picture in your head. You know what I'm talking about. Hardiness zone for this particular Norway maple is a zone 4, so most of Wisconsin should be able to grow this. Okay, so this one is the other maple that I'm really excited that we're getting in this year. I have also been looking for this one for as long as I've been at K&A and ordering for them. When I got the confirmation email from our supplier, I may have written an email to two of my plant nerd friends, all in caps, because I was so excited that we were getting this one in this year. So it'll be coming in this year, hopefully in spring right away. I believe it's coming from one of our suppliers, and I believe it's Ohio. So this one actually does really well in part shade to a filtered, you know, like a dappled shade kind of location if it's underneath a canopy of a tree, or if you can give it, you know, 4 hours or less of sun, it's better for it. It's native to woodlands, and it's always an understory plant. It only maxes out around 15, maybe 20 feet tall at the most, and 10 to 15 feet wide. So it's definitely an ornamental maple tree, which a lot of people don't really think of when you think of maple trees, because usually you think of the big silver maples, the sugar maples. This guy is an ornamental, and hardiness zone on this is 3 to 8, so it's very, very hardy. Not going to be an issue even if we get a polar vortex, unless, you know, we get a zone 1 or 2 winter, but definitely hardy here. It's native to northern Wisconsin forests, so this is it's a native here in Wisconsin, which I don't believe is in my native PowerPoint, so I apologize for that. I just found out that we're getting this one in. So anyway, the spring and summer foliage on this is green, and then it will change to a nice kind of butter yellow color in the fall. So you will still get some fall color, but because it's an understory, doesn't like a lot of sun, you won't get the bright reds and oranges like you would with some of the other full sun maples. All right, maples are done. We're moving on to birch. This river birch variety, Durahit, is debatable on whether it's the same as heritage or not. It depends on who you talk to. So some of my suppliers say it's the same exact tree. Others have both heritage and Durahit offered, and they say it's just a little bit different. So Durahit is new for us this year. It's supposed to be more drought tolerant than the other river birch varieties. Still has the same peeling coppery bark as the other river birch, and heritage also has that. River birch, by definition, are generally resistant to the birch borer, so you won't have to worry about that insect all that much. More with the paper birch that you'll see that particular insect problem. Hardiness on this variety is 3 to 7 and prefers full sun but will tolerate part shade. if that's what you have. So 4 hours or more each day, 6 hours or more is better for it. Mature size on this is 30 to 40 feet tall and 20 to 25 feet wide. So a lot of people do like to put these kind of out on their lawn. One thing that I like to mention with all birch trees, not just river birch, it's, as you can see in this photo, it's best if you can mulch around the root system. They don't do as well if you just plant it in the lawn and have the grass right up to where it's coming out of the ground. They don't like to compete with other plants for water, and with a birch, they always have a really shallow root system. So you want to make sure that you can mulch around that just to keep it from getting too hot in the summer, and again, you know, in the winter, it protects it a little bit better than having just, you know, dried, dead, dormant lawn on top of it. This is a newish one. Called White Satin. The breeder was actually at UW-Madison, so it's a Wisconsin tree, not native tree, but it's a Wisconsin bred tree, if that makes sense. The person who selected this particular tree noticed that it had brighter white bark than some of the other Himalayan birches, which is what this particular birch is. It's a Himalayan birch. So because it has brighter white bark, it's a nice substitute if you don't want to plant, or if you would like a paper birch but you don't want to deal with the birch borer. White satin is a little bit more insect resistant to the birch borer. So again, like I said, it's a great substitute if you're looking for a paper birch but you don't want to deal with the insect problem. Hardiness zone on this is zone 4 through 8. Full sun is best, again, but it will tolerate partial sun, so at least 4 hours, if not 6 hours or more a day is best for this one. 30 to 35 feet tall and approximately 20 feet wide for mature size on this one. Alright, so the blue beech and musclewood is one that I'm starting to get a little bit obsessed with. You can see in the lower photo here on the right, that is what a mature trunk or branch will look like. It just has these real weird stripy, I don't know, it looks like mussels basically, so that's why it's named musclewood. The other common name is blue beech. The Fire King, you can see in the left-hand photo, has a really nice kind of burnt orange fall color. Sometimes it has a reddish hue to it. Full sun will give it this coloration in the fall. If you put it in part sun, it'll be a little more muted. It will tolerate full shade. I actually have mine underneath a bunch, like 8 walnut trees, I think. So it's growing. It's just when it's in the fall, I get more of a yellow fall color. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about placement. So since I have it under 8 walnut trees, obviously it's walnut tolerant. It's been there for 4 years, I think. However, it is a very slow growing tree. So blue beech, they really don't put on a lot of growth. I think mine is putting on about 4 inches a year right now. So don't expect it to you know, fill in and be like the hybrid maples where you will get more like a foot of growth every year. Definitely hardy for this area though. It's a zone 3. The mature size will eventually be 15 to 20 feet tall in the same width, so you will have more of the lollipop shape again. So if you don't want something like a sugar maple because it's too huge, you can always go with something like Fire King, and then you'll still get the really nice orangey red fall color, and it won't be as huge. So that's a great substitute for you. And another blue beech variety is Fire Spire. This one, I believe we're getting it from Johnson's Nursery in Menominee Falls, and I'm pretty sure they are the ones that selected and bred this particular variety. So this one is more columnar. It's still 15 to 20 feet tall, but it's only going to be 8, maybe 10 feet wide at maturity. You can see the fall color is going to be a nice, bright, kind of orangey red again. Best fall color again if you put it in full sun. It will tolerate up to full shade, but you'll probably get more of a yellow fall color with it then. Same hardiness as the last one, zones 3 to 7. So definitely hardy for this area. And again, it is walnut tolerant, so if you do have walnuts, this is definitely an option for you. Alright, so this one, the American chestnut, is, well, I was told that I was being bold for ordering this tree, which I do agree with my friend that told me that. Back when I was in college, I learned about, American chestnut is native to the eastern and southern areas of the United States. Pretty much all of them. We thought that it actually went extinct because of the chestnut blight that just killed all these trees really quickly. So somewhere along the way, people started finding small American chestnut trees again that had made it through past this blight problem. So that's what they're using now to propagate, basically. So the ones that we're selling, they are resistant to the chestnut blight. Hopefully that'll remain the case. It's a zone 4, so it's hardy here in Wisconsin, even though it's not a native, so you can definitely grow it here. You can see it, you will get the chestnuts, so it's a great food source, in addition to, oak trees, even the walnuts that I'm not a huge fan of, but you will have a food source for the wildlife if you grow this once it gets mature and starts producing the nuts. It's a fast-growing tree. It gets 60 to 80 feet tall and 30 to 40 feet wide, so it is almost like the size of the native oaks that we have here in Wisconsin. You're going to need to give it a lot of space, and as I said, it's a fast grower, so it should hopefully fill in pretty quickly for you. Full sun is best, so if you can give it 6 hours or more every day, that would be ideal for it. And with the green, you can see in the photo here, the green leaves are what you'll see in spring and summer, and then in the fall it gets a nice golden yellow color. A new European beech that I have been trying to get in for a few years. We're getting this one from Monrovia. It's red obelisk. It is a columnar variety, as you can see from the photo. So it's a little bit easier for people that have a smaller lot or not a lot of space to be able to put a tree in anymore. This is a great option. 12 to 15 feet tall, but only 3 to 4 feet wide. So like I said, it's a very columnar tree. The foliage is going to be this purple color for most of the season. Spring and summer is when you'll have the purple, and then in the fall it's going to be a golden yellow color. Almost an orange, not quite. This is also a great substitute for Japanese maple. I know a lot of people are looking for the purple foliage with the Japanese maple, but since they aren't quite as hardy, it's not always going to be feasible. This one is hardy to zone 4, so it is definitely hardier than the Japanese maples. The one caveat with the foliage color is if you want it to remain this purple, you have to keep it in full sun. If you put it in a shadier spot, you will notice it's more of an olive green instead of the purple. So definitely need at least 6 hours of sun a day in order to get this gorgeous purple. We have had Kentucky coffee tree in the past, but we have not had espresso. This particular variety is a seedless variety, so you won't get the leathery, almost wallet-sized seed heads on there. So that is probably the main selling point. This Kentucky coffee tree, it takes a few years to get established, but it does put on quite a bit of growth once it gets established. The mature size on this is 40 to 50 feet tall, 30 to 35 feet wide, and actually I'm going to guess that when we get them in this year, they'll look like a stick in a pot. So I would just ask that you are patient and don't laugh at our poor trees. They usually look pretty goofy when we first get them in the nursery yard, but they do branch out. It usually takes 2-3 years, and then you'll start to see the side branches and it'll look like a real tree once you give it a little bit of space. So the Kentucky coffee tree is great because it really doesn't have any serious insect or disease problems. It's very underused, and the reason why people didn't like to put them, as a street tree or even in their yard was just because of those giant seed pods on it. So because this is a seedless variety, you won't have to worry about that. You just get, the pretty green leaves in the spring and summer, and then you get a nice yellow fall color before it drops its leaves. Hardiness on this is a zone 4. And it does prefer full sun, so if you can give it a spot that it'll get at least 6 hours of sun every day, that would be ideal for it. Sweet gum is one that kind of snuck up on me. I did learn about it in college, and then I kind of forgot it for about 20 years, 15 years. And then I started seeing that people were planting them in arboretum situations. I found it at one of the county parks here in Dane County, which is actually almost in the middle of nowhere. It's not near Madison. But it is a hardy to zone 5. They're questioning on whether or not it actually is hardy in zone 4, just because, like I said, it's in the county park where it's not protected at all. It's in the middle of a prairie, actually, where I saw it. So it may be hardier than a zone 5, but definitely a zone 5. This slender silhouette variety is columnar, so again, it's better for smaller city lots, or if you already have an existing landscape and you just want to add a couple of things, this would definitely fit in there. 10 to 15 feet tall, 2 to 4 feet wide. The foliage is green, as you can see in the far left-hand side photo. That'll be spring and summer. And then it does get a really nice mixture of yellow, orange, and this burgundy red for the fall color. So it's just a gorgeous tree in the fall. One note though, you can see on the bottom right hand photo, those are the seeds. I wouldn't recommend walking around this tree if you have bare feet. It's not like stepping on Legos, but it's not painless either, so just be careful around this tree. One other note too is it's a slow growing tree, so again it'll probably put on maybe 6 inches or so a year, probably less than that when it's first getting established. So don't expect it to fill in really quickly for you. But I think just based on the fall color, it's completely worth it just to put it in your landscape. All right, every year I do my best to try and get in some magnolias, and every year we tend to get them in August. So this one, the yellow flowering varieties are the most popular. We should have butterflies coming at some point, which is yellow. I believe I have Elizabeth coming also, which is yellow. This one, Sensation, is new for us. It's a little bit different than the other yellow flowering. You still get the butter yellow flowers, but it has a nice, you can see the kind of reddish pink blush towards the center of the flower also. And generally speaking, magnolias here in Wisconsin will flower first and then they leaf out when it's done flowering. So don't, I always see photos like this where it's flowering when it's leafed out, which I've never actually seen happen in Wisconsin. So just be patient with your tree. It's perfectly fine if that's what it's going to do, is flower before it leaves out. Full sun is best for flower. It will tolerate some partial shade. I do know of some that are planted on like the east side of someone's house that it gets morning sun, but then by noon it's pretty much in shade. So that's okay too. As long as you give it 4 hours or more every day, that's fine. It will max out 15 to 20 feet tall here in Wisconsin. This is a columnar variety, so it's 6 to 8 feet wide. So again, you can plant this one closer to your house. That will give it an added protection in the winter, especially from those winter winds. That tends to dry out a lot of the trees. Hardiness on most magnolias around here are zone 5. This is not the exception. This is also hardy to zone 5. And magnolias do grow fairly slowly, so don't expect a lot of growth, and it won't fill in really quickly for you for a while. The Sensation variety also is supposed to flower later, so it's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Anne variety, that flowers later as well, but some of the flower buds, you know, we get those obnoxious late frosts right around Mother's Day, or like last year when we got it over Memorial Day. The flower buds tend to freeze off, or the flowers start to bloom and you get a day or two and then it just freezes the entire flower off. Because Anne and this variety bloom later, then you will get more likely to get the flowers actually flowering and you'll be able to enjoy them instead of having them freeze off here in Wisconsin. This is another new magnolia. It's called Umbrella Magnolia. I'm not very familiar with it. It was just one that I decided to try because it's actually hardy to zone 4. So figured I would try it out. It doesn't have the saucer flowers like Sensation does that we were looking at before. It's more of the star-shaped flower on it. You can see that it is a white with a little bit of a hot pink center. The other weird thing about this magnolia is it tolerates full shade. So I would imagine it probably doesn't grow as thick, probably doesn't flower as much. However, it will tolerate full shade, so if you have a little, less than 4 hours of sun to give it every day, should be okay in that spot. It's going to be a fairly large plant, so 15 to 20 feet tall, 15 to 20 feet wide at maturity. Again, it's a slow growing plant here in Wisconsin, so don't expect it to fill out, in 5 or 6 years. You will need to kind of nurse it along and be patient with it. The flowers, again, they bloom before it leaves out in early spring. Usually, I want to say late April is usually when most magnolias will bloom for us here, with the exception of the late blooming types that bloom later in May. And then the flowers turn into kind of a red berry in late summer, so you'll get that added bonus to it too. Black tupelo is another one that I have become a little more obsessed with as I age. I saw this one. Well, I saw a black tupelo, actually the next variety that I'll be showing you, at the Arboretum, and ever since I saw it in the fall, I fell in love with it. So, Green Gable is a bright red fall color. You can see in the right-hand photo. In spring and summer, it'll have really dark, glossy green leaves. Full sun to full shade. I actually have my particular black tupelo underneath a bunch of walnuts again, so it is walnut tolerant. Not putting on a whole lot of growth, but it's probably because it's in full shade. It's in really nasty clay soil with a bunch of sandstone rocks in it, so I didn't give it the best site, but it's still alive, and it put on, I think, 6 inches of growth last year. So it's been on the ground for about 3 years now. Maybe this year it'll put on a little bit more. Generally speaking, it is a moderate to fast growing tree if you give it the right site and you don't abuse it like I did. So with the Green Gable, the canopy on it is more of that triangle pyramid shape. So it's a great substitute if you like the way linden trees look, but you hate Japanese beetles, because Japanese beetles love linden trees. They don't generally go and attack the black tupelos. They've left mine alone at my house, and I do have Japanese beetles at my house, because I live in Dane County, so of course. But this would be a great substitute if you wanted more of that pyramid shape. 30 to 40 feet tall, 20 to 30 feet wide. So it's not a huge tree. It's not like a maple or oak sized tree, but it's definitely bigger than an ornamental tree. Another thing with black tupelo is it tolerates all soil types, as exhibited by what I'm planted it in, and it also will tolerate wet sites, so you can put it in kind of like a stream bed. I don't know that I would put it in standing water, but if you have a wetter spot, this would be a good option for you. Alright, so this black tupelo variety is the one that I saw at the Arboretum. You can kind of see the fall color on this is almost like an orange towards the center of the tree, but the portion of the tree that gets more sun is a very burgundy red, almost purple fall color. If you are aware of the autumn purple ash, they're still around some places, but I know emerald ash borer you can't buy ash trees in Wisconsin anymore just because of that insect pest. This is probably the closest for fall color that you would find. Instead of, if you wanted an autumn purple ash, you can't get it. This would be a great option for you if you wanted it for that particular fall color. The mature size on this is 30 to 40 feet tall, 20 to 30 feet wide. It's not going to be as big as the ash tree, but still a decent size for a shade tree. And you can see it still has that kind of pyramid shape with the canopy. So still a great option too if you like the linden trees, but don't really want the Japanese beetles. Full sun to part sun for this one though, so you can't put it in a full shade spot like I did. You want to give it at least 4 hours of sun or more a day just to keep it happy. And the more sun you give it, the better the fall color will be. For a few years, I've been having people ask me for the columnar Swedish aspen. Finally was able to get some this year, so yay for us. I think we have 10 coming in though at the Verona store, and probably, I think I want to say 6. I took the last of them that Monrovia had available, so we take what we can get sometimes, but this one is coming in this year. Full sun to part sun. The Swedish aspen generally has a silver underside on the leaf, so you have the green that you can see here in this photo, and then when the breeze comes, you'll see as the leaves shake in the breeze, you'll see the silver undersides to it as well. Aspen are also walnut tolerant, so if you do have walnuts and you're looking for some sort of columnar tree to plant under there, this would be a great option for you. You can make a privacy hedge with it, or some people use it as a single accent tree. Just put it on the corner of the house. You have a tall, skinny something that's not an arborvitae. This would be a great option too. 30 to 40 feet tall though, so you have to give it enough space to grow up, but only 8 to 10 feet wide. So definitely something you could put closer to your house. And also, because it's an aspen, hardiness zone on it is 2 to 5, so we are actually at its southern range down here in the Madison area. A new redbud that I'm trying out this year is called Vanilla Twist. Most redbuds will have kind of a pink, they sometimes say purple, I don't really see purple, but they'll have the real small pink flowers. This particular variety has the white flowers that line the branches. And then once it's done flowering, you'll get green heart-shaped leaves, which turn either kind of an orange, sometimes yellow in the fall. It's a weeping form, so you will have the cascading branches, 10 to 12 feet tall, 8 feet wide. They're a moderate grower. They don't grow slowly, but they also are not a really fast grower like some of the other ornamental varieties are. And just to note, this is also an eastern redbud, so it is hardy here in the Midwest. It's hardy to zone 5, so it might need a little bit more protection, especially in winter the first few years, just until it gets established. And this one, all redbuds are walnut tolerant, so if you have black walnuts, I can attest to this too. I have 2 weeping redbuds in my property, one of which is planted, I want to say 10 feet away from the trunk of a massive black walnut tree. So definitely walnut tolerant. And this is our final tree for the new trees for 2022. The Yellowwood is one that I've gone back and forth on whether or not to order. Not a lot of people ask for it, but it's nice to have something something a little bit different to offer to our customers. So the right hand photo is the fall color. You'll get a nice golden yellow fall color. In the spring, you can see in the left hand photo, it has panicles of hanging white flowers that bloom in spring. The mature size on this one is pretty big range. It's 30 to 50 feet tall, 40 to 50 feet wide. We are right on the northern end of its hardiness. It's hardy to zone 4, so really at least half the state would be okay to grow this, even in the country here in Dane County. So zones 4 to 8. One note though, a lot of people are saying make sure you don't plant this really close to your house. The branches are susceptible to ice damage, so it's not a very hard wood. It's more of a softer wood for the Yellowwood. So if we do get the ice storms that we do sometimes get, especially as spring or winter transitions to spring, just be aware that you may have some branches that will need cleaning up, and you don't want that to fall on your roof. So make sure it's planted out far enough. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty tree with the white flowers and then the yellow fall color. You'll have better fall color in full sun. It will tolerate partial shade. You can see in the fall color photo, it's kind of planted as an understory plant, at least in that situation. So it'll handle 4 hours or more of sun every day. And that concludes the new trees for 2022. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email us at knagreenhouse@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at either one of those 2 phone numbers, and one of us will get back to you. If you do have a specific question for me, you can email me at the Gmail address and then just put "Attention Jessica" in the subject line. I will make sure to get back to you in a day or 2. So hopefully you learned a little bit and there's something in there that you like. Like I said, if there's something that you know that you would like for spring and you want us to hold it for you, give us a shout. Just let us know so that we can make sure we pull it as soon as it comes off the truck. Otherwise, we hope to see you all in spring. Thanks so much.